Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into the world of professional neckwear today to completely demystify it for you. If you're stepping into the professional workforce and building up a new wardrobe, looking at all those suits and dress shirts can feel a little rigid. The rules seem so strict, right? But neckwear, that is the one place in a restrained corporate wardrobe where your color, your character, and your personality are actively encouraged to shine. Today, we aren't treating neckwear like some exclusive secret club. Instead, we're going to break it down into a really accessible, easy-to-use visual toolkit.
To make this super easy to navigate, we'll quickly cover 5 things: the anatomy of a tie, knots and collars, materials and patterns, the bow tie, and finally, the silk scarf parallel. Let's dive right in. Starting with part 1, anatomy of a tie, where we'll get a handle on the foundational vocabulary. Whenever you're learning something new, just getting the vocabulary down is half the battle. Once you know these terms, you're going to feel like an absolute insider. So the most visible part of the tie is called the blade. That's the wide front end. Getting its width and length proportionate to your body is your very first simple step to looking sharp. A standard tie is usually around 3¼ to 3½ inches wide. The golden rule here is proportion. You really want to try and match the width of the blade to the width of your suit lapels. And as for length, the tip of the blade should just graze the top of your belt buckle. Stopping above your navel can look a little awkward, and hanging way past your belt just looks sloppy. Next up is the keeper loop. If you flip the blade over, you'll see a small loop of fabric sewn right into the back. It has a very practical job. Once your tie is on and knotted, you simply slip the narrow back end of the tie right through that loop. This ensures the narrow end stays completely hidden behind the blade, keeping everything looking incredibly neat and tidy all day long. Now, a truly great tie is built on something called a bias cut. That just means the silk fabric was cut at a 45-degree angle during manufacturing. This was actually a brilliant tailoring innovation from a New York tie maker named Jessie Langsdorff back in 1922. Cutting the fabric this way is exactly what ensures the tie hangs perfectly straight down your chest and springs right back into its original shape after you untie it, rather than twisting up awkwardly. Finally, we've got the dimple. As you finish tying your knot, you just use your finger to create a tiny, deliberate pinch in the fabric directly below the knot. This little fold adds a really wonderful visual depth. It's completely optional, but adding that dimple is the quiet, elegant mark of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. It's a very small detail that makes a massive impact. Moving right along to part 2, knots and collars, where we'll talk about matching the shape to the shirt. Get this, mathematicians have actually run the numbers, and they figured out that there are over 177,000 possible ways to tie a necktie. If you're just starting out, that number sounds absolutely terrifying, right? But here is the most empowering truth. You only ever need to know 3 of them. Seriously, just 3. Tying a tie is really just a tiny, easily learnable skill that's been dressed up to look like a grand mystery. It's truly just muscle memory. Let's definitely bust a major myth right now. A bigger knot is not somehow more formal or more professional. It isn't better, it's just bigger. The only rule you need to remember here is matching proportions. You want to match the shape of your knot to the shape of your shirt collar. For instance, the 4-in-hand knot is narrow, slightly lopsided, and very elegant, so you pair it with a narrow point collar. On the flip side, the full Windsor knot makes a wide, perfectly even, bulky triangle, so you absolutely must reserve it for a wide spread collar so the knot actually has room to sit comfortably. Basically, match the knot to the collar, not to your ego. And sitting perfectly in the middle of our visual taxonomy is the half Windsor. If the 4-in-hand is small and the full Windsor is large, the half Windsor is your incredibly versatile medium knot. It's highly symmetric and pairs beautifully with standard, semi-spread collars. Honestly, if you only ever master the 4-in-hand and the half Windsor, those 2 are all you will ever practically need for the rest of your professional life. All right, part 3, materials and patterns. This is all about changing the texture and the vibe of your outfit. Think of materials as a simple menu to order from depending on your day. Smooth silk, that's your formal, everyday default. It's perfect for interviews and big meetings. Then you have grenadine, which is a silk woven with an open, visible texture. It shows quiet, refined taste without being flashy at all. And then there's the knit tie, which often has a straight, square bottom instead of a pointed blade. That is your fantastic casual go-to. It looks incredibly smart paired with a sports coat on a less formal day. When it comes to patterns, I highly recommend starting safely and just building your confidence over time. Start your wardrobe with solid colors. A nice navy or burgundy solid tie is totally foolproof. Once you're comfortable there, you can introduce a foulard,
which is just a fancy tailoring word for a tie with small repeating geometric shapes. After that, try out some classic diagonal stripes. And finally, as you really find your personal style, you can explore the boldest options, like paisley teardrops or club motifs. Moving to part 4, the bow tie. This is a wonderfully confident personality move. So while the bow tie is absolutely essential for formal black tie events, wearing one with a standard suit during the daytime is just a fantastic, confident move. It shows you know the rules and you're having fun with them. But here is the one strict guideline. Skip the pre-tied clip-ons entirely. Always learn to self-tie your bow tie. I promise you it uses the exact same mechanical motion as tying the bow on your shoelaces, just performed up at your neck. It might feel a little awkward for the first week, but it will soon become completely automatic muscle memory. And honestly, that slight human imperfection of a self-tied bow is exactly where its charm comes from. And finally, part 5, this silk scarf parallel. The women's counterpart to the necktie. Seamlessly mirroring the men's tie, the silk scarf does the exact same heavy lifting for women. It puts a tailored splash of color and personality right at the neckline. A major variation of this is the lavalier, or the pussy bow blouse, which features the scarf material built directly into the collar. Now, this specific garment isn't just a pretty accessory. It has profound historical significance. It rose to prominence in the 60s, 70s, and 80s exactly as women were entering the professional workforce and claiming their space in environments that had previously been exclusively male. Think about everyone from Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s right up to modern female executives and politicians today. This loop of silk has always been a powerful visual declaration of belonging. It's a way of using the language of traditional tailoring to confidently say, I am here and I belong in this boardroom. And just like men's tie knots, women have a highly accessible starter library of scarf ties that are totally easy to master. It all starts with the bias fold, which is simply folding a square scarf corner to corner into a neat band. From there, you can effortlessly transition into a simple Parisian loop, a classic neckerchief, an ascot knot, or a voluminous bow. When it comes down to it, 10 tie knots basically equal 10 scarf ties. Whether you're wearing a four-in-hand tie or a silk foulard scarf, it is the exact same, completely achievable skill. It's just basic muscle memory practiced on a different rectangle of silk. This is absolutely not out of your reach. Now, once you start building up this wardrobe, you're definitely going to want to protect your investment. Whether it's a men's tie or a women's scarf, the care instructions are identical. Simply take the time to fully untie the knot at the end of the day by reversing the steps. Never just yank the narrow end through. Hang or loosely roll the silk so it can rest. And if it gets wrinkled, use the steam from a hot shower or a hand steamer. Never, ever press an iron flat onto a silk tie or scarf. You've got the complete visual toolkit now. You know the anatomy, you know how knots pair with collars, you understand materials, and you know the powerful history behind these garments. Entering a new professional environment can sometimes feel like swimming in a sea of uniform navy and gray suits. But neckwear, that is your opportunity. Step out with confidence, master this one tiny skill, and proudly use it to sign your name on your professional dress tomorrow.